What is up, MoYak family? Josh, what's up, man? How are you?
Doing good. Season's about over, man. I'm starting
Yeah,
to get my second win. I think I'm ready for some more though. How about you?
yeah, man. I was just thinking about that too. Thinking about the All American and how that's it. It's like, well, what's the next event? And we don't even know that yet because you haven't put the schedule out. But next year, man, be here before we know it.
Yep, time to get a little bit of a break, recoup, re-rig your rods, get new gear, upgrade your kayak, upgrade your fish finder. We're all about the upgrades in the kayak world.
That's right. Usually, off season, and I did a lot last year. I put a motor on my kayak and did some other stuff, but yeah, it's about time to put that kayak up in the garage and do some work on it. But we've got some big events going on left to do, and it's exciting, man.
Yep, and we just got through a really exciting weekend, with the championships on Table Rock too, which is what we're gonna talk about in this episode.
Let's get right into it, man. Let's talk about the Missouri Bass.Nation, the 2020, our first event with BASS. Um, it was cool to watch, man. I know I didn't do great, but it was fun to watch and fun to be a part of that, especially the first event ever. Um, some of these guys just hammered them. Um,
Yeah.
let's get into our top five. For our event totals. Number five, Lance Burris, finished the 2 days with 145 and a quarter inches. Jared Fosner, four spot, did great on the onlines this year. Came up to Table Rock and did some work there too. He had 150 and a half inches. Jeremy Mitchell, he fishes quite a bit, local and other events going on this year. Has had a pretty good season. He had 155 and a half, finished in third place. And then Josh, who were our top two spots, man?
Man, those top two spots were close. Troy Inky came on strong early in the morning. He ended up in second place overall, but it was a close race. Only difference was 2 inches. On day one, Troy had 78. On day two, he had 82 for a total of 160. And the winner, one of our guests tonight is Brandon Prince. Brandon had 82 inches on day one and 80 inches on day two. So both those guys were super consistent and both had a great run at it. So Brandon ended up winning with 162 inches. And he's your first ever Missouri Bass.Nation kayak champion.
That's a pretty good title to take home. Knowing that you'll always be the first one that took it. It's cool. It's excited for him. Seemed like a great guy. I've never really talked to him much, but just talking a little bit at the event, seemed like a nice guy. Sounds like he had a great 2 days, and it just lined up perfectly for him.
It did for him and Troy both. And like I said, now we've got our whole group. All those top guys, those top five. They should all be proud because they get to go to the first ever, kayak Bassmaster Classic Championship.
Let's talk about that. We've got a couple guys. There's actually four of them that have qualified outside of our event here. So we got Brandon Prince, Richie McMichael, Josh, you qualified, and then Lance Burris at larger events this year. And congrats to you guys on already making that qualification. And then we were able to qualify five more guys due to roll downs. So Troy Inky, he was in that first spot. Jeremy Mitchell, Jared Fosno, Steve Lehman, and David Neal. Those other five guys. So we'll have 9 guys from Missouri representing, which is really cool.
Yep, it is, man. 9, something to be proud of, and all 9 of these anglers are great individuals and great competitors. So I'm excited to get down there and show the rest of the country and the Bassmaster community what we got going on up here in Missouri.
Yeah, man. If you guys get a chance, I was standing there next to David Neal, and he finished 7th. And he's like, "Yeah, I had a good event, but I really wanted to do the bass thing." And I'm just like, "Well, Brandon has already qualified," and he's like, "So his spot will roll down to you." And he's like, "Whatever, man. I'm not counting that chicken before it hatches." And I said, "Seriously?" I said, "Ask Brandon." And he's like, "Yeah." Well, he didn't believe me. So if you get a chance, talk to David Neal about that. It was funny, and he didn't believe me. It was so funny talking to him. I'm like, "Yeah, seriously, man." So it's exciting to see, his excitement, all the other guys' excitement. it's a bid event. It's the classic, you know. How cool is that?
Yeah, whenever we did the final roll down, I'd forgotten that Brandon, live had already qualified, so we did another one, and I didn't know for sure who number 7 was, and I looked up and I saw the look on David's face, and he's like,
Yeah, he was.
and I was like, I didn't know if he was messing with me or not. I kind of thought they were joking. He's like, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was really him or not. And then we had to look it up, and it really was. And it was really cool to see that excitement. I mean, I was excited for everybody. I mean, we're all making history right here. So I think we're all real excited to be part of that.
Yeah, he looked over me. He goes, my wife's not going to be happy about this, but I'm stoked. So,
well, hopefully the trip won't cost very much at all, and wifey will be happy.
Yeah.
And he can win some money and bring home, and then wife will be even more happy.
Yeah, that would be cool to see. Well, congratulations to you guys, and can't wait to watch you guys represent us at the Classic. Moving right along over to the state championship, a lot of your finishers, your top 5 are still, Jeremy Mitchell, he finished 5th. We got Jamie Norris, which he actually finished in 4th, since these were 2 separate events, with 155.5 inches. He just squeaked out before Jeremy Mitchell. And then Dorman Huey, man, old Dorman, he's had a solid year. I think he was really wanting to defend that AOI and get that again, but he finished 3rd. And then
he's fishing angry right now. He's hungry.
Yeah,
look out for him at the All-American.
It'll be fun to watch. And then Troy Inke and Brandon Prince, they finished our state championship 2-1 there as well on that side. And Brandon, how much do you think he ended up taking home?
Let's see. It was right around $3,000. I mean, he got the overall big bass. He got a couple hourly big basses. He won the first place on the state championship side. So he got some money.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, that kind of wraps up our weekend at Table Rock, and it's a great time. Let's get into some of the awards from the year. Let's talk about AOI, Mr. Lance Burris. Guy's a hammer. He had a great year.
Yep, Lance is the king of the mountain for 2020. He claims he's Mr. Second Place. I think we should give him that nickname. We'll start calling him number 2. That's Lance's new nickname is number 2. But I tell you what, you get second place in every tournament, and you're going to take home some money, and you're going to win Angler of the Year, which is exactly what he did. Now, granted, Dorman won several events, but then was down there in a couple others. So, that's how important consistency can be. But they still ended up tying. And, we used that tiebreaker of the overall inches, and it was the first time we've ever used that as a tiebreaker. Actually, it's the first time we've ever had a tie. But luckily, Troy's software that he uses and keeps track of all of our tournaments and everything tracks everyone's individual inches. So that going forward, we're going to keep that. And if there's any more ties and anything, if we ever have an Angler of the Year tie again, it'll go by total inches. And I don't think it's going to be possible for us to have a tie in total inches. So we should be good going forward. And we won't have any more problems or questions.
Man, how crazy it would be to end up in a tie with total inches and have to go to
oh man, we'd have to do a
big bass or something like that. Yeah, that'd be crazy.
No, if it was a double tie, we're gonna just do a fish off. We'll just get him out on the water, and we're just gonna have to go at it. I don't know.
Cool. Congrats, Lance. Man, great year for you. Way to represent MoYak, locally and on the national stage. You had a great year. Mr. Online AOY, Jared Fosner, man, congrats to him. He fished hard. I know I talked to him quite a bit. There was weekends where he was going out Saturday and Sunday, going to different spots, and he kind of, I've talked to him, and it sounds like he's kind of got all over the place. Small ponds, big ponds, wherever he can get on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to win the online Angler of the Year, you got to really grind it out. That there are no drops. So from March all the way through September, you got to get out there and get a good bag of fish every month. And to do that, you got to get out on the water quite a bit too. So there's a lot of work that goes involved, to win that online Angler of the Year. So man, Jared did a great job with that.
Yeah, he not squeaked. And I should say this, he was well ahead of, which I finished second, which was awesome. But he was well ahead of me on the point scale, and he had some really good events. And congrats to him. Let's talk about the Team AOY, or Team Anglers of the year. Let's talk about the top 8 and kind of go through those guys. I'll start with the 8 through 5 and go from there. We got Bassmaster. They finished with 1,489 points. Slapping the Bass is 1,498. Tell me who those two teams are. I don't know that. I guess I can. I wonder if there's a way. Do you have those, Josh?
Yeah, I can pull that up here real quick.
How do I look at that? Is there a way to do that?
I just use Tourney X. So for which ones are we on?
So we had Bass Ackwards.
Bass Ackwards is Kerry Evans and Darian Beadle.
Darian Beadle had that good event at Palmy. Slapping the Bass, those guys are right behind him in that 7 spot. Who are those two guys, Josh?
Yep, that's Joe Hayes and Eric Easter.
Joe Hayes, he's last year's Rookie of the Year.
Yes, sir.
Honorable mention. Who are those two guys?
Those are the Van Tassels. Really great story about them, father and son. And, he actually sent me a message in private thanking me that this has really helped him and his son get to spend more quality time together. It kind of choked me up a little bit reading what he said to me. It goes to show you that there's a lot more involved in these tournaments than just getting out there and competing. There's the bonding part of it. There's the family aspect of it. There's the nature. There's the therapy. There's just didn't mean to get off on a tangent there, but I was very grateful to hear that message from the Van Tassels. So thank you guys for that. That's honorable mention.
We got the Ned Rig Bandits.
Yep, that's old Ty Ward and Alex Carricker.
And then in our 4th spot, Team Bonafide, which I believe that's Lance and Mike, correct? Lance Burris, Mike Kiefer.
Burris and Kiefer, yep.
And then El Lobina Banditos.
Yeah, we've all heard of Richie McMichael and Jeff Mellencamp.
Oh, the guys. And the Furious Drum Snatchers, they're finishing that 2 spot for the year.
Yep, they made a run right there at the end of that championship too. It was pretty close, but with Troy Inky and Brian Hillman, they made a run. They tried, but they couldn't catch Jim and Dorman with H&H Bass Destroyers. Those guys had such a good lead, and then finishing out the championship in first place was just lights out. So congratulations to Jim and Dorman for winning that Team AOI championship and those belts that they really like too. I love this picture of them. Dorman Rocket, WWE style.
I can't see anybody else that fits those belts better. Those guys seem like they fit those belts perfectly.
I agree.
That's your Team AOY standings. And then Sportsman of the Year. I know I was really shooting for this award. I would have been honored. But Mr. James Harmon, he took that home. Super nice guy. Can't say. I mean, he was there at every event, helping out, doing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, not only does he help out, but he pours his heart and soul into the sport. And, and that's what this is all about. So, I mean, my hat's off to Jay. Thank you for all that you do, man. Congratulations on winning that Sportsman of the Year.
And that kind of wraps up just everything as far as additional awards that we had going on. Congrats to all those guys, all the teams. You guys are what makes MoYak great. I'm excited about 2021 already, but I'm also thankful for what 2020 has given us. I know it's been a crazy year, but it's been a good one.
Yeah, it's been crazy. The season's all wrapped up, but we still got one more big bang to go, and that's the All-American. And, that is just for our top 10 that have qualified for that, as well as the Sportsman of the Year. And we rolled down a couple spots too, as well as to the Online Angler of the Year, which you got the spot for because that rolled down.
I was excited about that.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks,
so not only do we got 12 or 13, we got 13 going from MoYak. Everybody can go fish the Open. I mean, guys, if you're looking for one more tournament, it's only $50 to get in. That's not that much. And you can go fish, and at the top half of the field, they're going to qualify to go on to the next event or the next day. And, right now there's not that many people signed up. I can't predict how many people sign up, but the odds are pretty good that you'll qualify. So the more MoYak guys we got up there, the more guys we're going to get in the tournament. It would be awesome to bring, the whole MoYak army in, into the All-American and win that club, top club trophy. That would be pretty sweet. The first year we're doing it, we're hosting it, and we'll win it.
So if I didn't qualify for it, I can fish Friday for $50, and then if I finish in that top 50, I get to fish the Saturday tournament. Is that correct?
That's correct. If you finish in the top 50% of the field, if we've got 30 guys signed up, the top 15 anglers are going to go on to the next round. Now, granted, let's take that number for example again. If we've got 30 anglers and those top 15 advance, those other 15 that didn't make the cut, they can still fish. They can buy into the hourly big bass for the next day. They can spend $20 and then they're in the hourly big bass, and we're going to do $100 an hour in big bass payouts during the All-American. So even those guys that don't make the cut, all you got to do is pay $20 and you can get in that big bass bash during the All-American. So you can still fish. You're still there. You still come to the award ceremony. You can still be part of everything. And, on top of that, if you do pay that $50 and you do advance, you're not going to get double feed. So the entry fee for the All-American is $150. So once you pay your $50 to fish in the shootout and you qualify, you only owe the balance of $100. So all you got after the shootout's over, all the guys that advance will be notified at the award ceremony Friday night. Then you'll get the opportunity to use PayPal. You'll send that $100 and you'll put it in, and I will add you into the tournament, and you're in. So you're going to end up paying the same amount of money as someone who qualified through their club. Even though you didn't qualify, you're not going to have to pay extra. So that's how it's going to work. That's how it's going to work. And for the open shootout too, there's no payout. We're going to have some prize packs for the top 3, but all that money that's in the open shootout is going to roll right into the All-American payout. That's why you're not going to be double taxed. To say.
Man, it's going to be cool. It's fun seeing the guys in the clubs that have already, sent their top 10 and planning on coming. And I know I've talked to Jared a little bit as well. It sounds like they got quite a bit of stuff planned for us as well.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Everhart's just puts on the show of the century. They're going to go all out. We've already given away 2 kayaks this year in MoYak. Imagine what they're going to do for the All-American. I mean, this is their backyard. This is their baby, and man, I'm excited to see what they've got in store for us. But yeah, I've gotten 16 submissions. I've got 16 rosters from 16 clubs in different parts of the country that have already, and they're doing roll downs. So they tried to fill the roster with people that can come. So hopefully most of those people can come. But right now we've already got 16 committed to come in, so that's a pretty good number.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's gonna be fun to watch, fun to be a part of. Even just talking about our event, that Everhart's helped put on. Those grab bags that they gave away for the big bass for the hourlies. I mean, they had great stuff in them. They had one of those angler buttons in it. They had a ton of other stuff. It was cool to see those. I know. I think Jim Harding had like 3 of them when he left the day. But yeah, Everhart's, they're gonna knock it out of the park. I have no doubt. It's not about it's not about being the KBF. It's not about being Bass. It's just about an event that guys can come to and just fish, meet other guys across the country, meet people that they may have never talked to and fish, their club and represent their club and it be something that it's not a crazy amount of money to go to a national tournament. It's not you're not traveling all over the place, but it's somewhere that, can go and be like your own family's, your own club's event and something you're representing yourself at. So I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be good.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Captain's meetings. I'm assuming there's going to be one for the shootout and then one for the actual event.
Yes. And the captain's meetings are required. We're going to be doing a board check, and we're also going to be handing out special identifier cards. So you're going to need that card in order to compete. So I understand that maybe some people may not be able to get there in time, and we can make some exceptions for that. If that's the case, just get with me, shoot me a message, shoot me an email, let me know, and I'll work with you. The most important thing is we get your board checked. We don't want any wanky hog troughs out there with big old fat lines on them, which is the only reason we're doing a board check. Moving forward with next year, when we're all catch, we won't even need to worry about stuff like this. So just another reason why we're getting rid of the hog troughs. But we got to make sure the hog troughs are marked well, and we're going to issue those identifier cards. So if you've got a buddy that's coming to the weigh-in, he can bring your board in and get it certified. We're going to mark the boards and certify them that they've been inspected, and then we can give him your identifier card and he can bring it back to you. So if you can't make it, there's ways around this. We can work with you. If you've got a buddy coming, he can check in for you. Or maybe I can meet up with you at a different time. Just get with me and let me know. But overall, yes, the captain's meeting is required because we are doing board checks and we are handing out unique identifiers, among other things.
Well, it's going to be a good time. I know you got to talk to Brandon, and I was kind of bummed out I didn't get to sit down and talk with you guys, but let's get into that, and then shortly after we'll get Troy and Key on here. I want to start calling him Mr. October because he's done well in October last year and this year. Maybe we'll start calling him Mr. October. But let's get into those interviews. Let's talk to those guys and see what their events are all about, man.
All right, yeah, let's go ahead and start with my conversation with Brandon Prince. Well, thanks, Brandon, for joining us, to sit down and have a chat about what just went down on Table Rock this weekend. I mean, that was a crazy tournament. The conditions were brutal one day. Actually, they were brutal both days. You and some of the other guys really battled it out, and I applaud you for doing that. That was an awesome event. Talk a little bit about what just happened this weekend.
I'm still trying to digest it, I guess. It was a big win for me, and it meant a lot to me. I knew going into day one, the winds were going to be bad and so on. And, I'm a creek guy. So me and Jeremy Mitchell had been talking about different spots. I got down there on Wednesday night, had to do a little work on Thursday, got out for a few hours on Thursday, do a little pre-fish and check some spots. Didn't really fish, just kind of looked. And then Friday morning, I got to pre-fish. Ended up running up all the way up Long Creek as far as I could go. It was probably 3.5, 4 miles up. Didn't really find the fish that I really wanted up there. So after talking to Jeremy, eliminated a bunch of water and stuff. Ended up fishing up the creek, the King's Arm. Jeremy found a bunch of fish in there, said there was plenty. So, we both jumped on it and went after him day one.
Was that kind of your focus going into the tournament, was to get back in the creeks? Was that the pattern you were looking for?
Yeah, definitely on Table Rock, just because, it's a local lake, pretty local lake for me. And that's kind of, most of the time that's my plan, just depending on what time of year, definitely this time of year, you're going to find, a lot of bass pushing shad up, on those flats in the back of creeks, or, just all the way into the back of this creek. So, that's normally my plan. But I'm just, river creek fisherman through and through. So, that's where I'm comfortable and confident at. And then once I found out that, it was going to be weather changing, high winds, I just knew that was going to be the spot to really grind it out.
Yeah, you did. You put up 82 on day one and 80 on day two. So, I mean, that's pretty consistent, for pulling the fish on day two. Were you in the same spot? Did you go back to the same area?
Yeah, I actually went to the same area. I ran out towards the main lake a little farther on day two, and then worked my way back up. I grinded all morning. I think I had like a 15.5 first fish. Well, I take that back. It was after like 4 shorts. I caught that 15.5. Then I started going up. I ended up catching a few 12s and then like a 15.5. And then, just kept fishing, kept catching shorts. Just couldn't find the big fish I really needed on day two. Then started at about 1:30. I think at 1:30. It was actually probably a little bit, caught the fish at 1:30. So a little bit before there, I was kind of just thinking to myself, like, what can I do? Like, just keep motivated. I checked the leaderboard at that time, and I seen that Troy had crushed him, that morning. So that was kind of making me nervous. I knew what I had to do, to get right back in the race. And not long after that, I was just thinking to myself, I was like, I got 2:15.5, so I should catch it like a 17. At least I like just in my head, I was equaling all those fish out at 16 inches. What was it going to take to get to 80 inches? And so I kept grinding, and I freaking right after that, I don't know, it seemed like maybe a minute, 30 seconds, but it was probably like 5 to 10 minutes after that, having that thought. I freaking hooked into one, freaking 17, and literally the next cast, I catch a freaking 16. So now, I'm back in it. I got one more 12 to get rid of. Now I ended up catching like a 13.25. I'm like, okay, that helps. That helps. I was like, and if I can, in my head, like if I can just get to 14 inch or a 14 incher, I think I'll have a pretty good shot at it. So I kept fishing, and I was fishing a crankbait at that time, and I threw it right down the bank and brought it up to me. And as I was bringing up to my boat, I kind of seen a wolf pack, a largemouth at the same time. And I kept kind of bringing it with them. And all of a sudden I realized that my line and everything kept going with the largemouth. And so I just like, oh my God, I set the hook. And I think what I did is I just set the hook too hard. And that fish had that hook, that crankbait always in its mouth. And I just see that fish turn and freaking pop right out of his mouth. And all those fish in that wolf pack were good. And I was like, man, I just lost my winning fish. And I kept grinding it out, and about 2:30, 2:40, I see the smallmouth come to the top of the water, and it's almost like floating there, like it came up chasing the shad and kind of lost it maybe. And I freaking pitched a chatterbait to it at that time and just pump it twice, and it crushed it. It ended up being a 16, and I lost it right there. I just had one of those moments. It's like you just got to keep grinding and never give up. You never know when it's going to happen. You just never know. So.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, if you just keep going, sometimes you get that miracle finish right at the end, man. You never give up. That's for sure. So that was a good story. Were you catching? Guys were catching all three species. Did you notice that? Were you into smallmouth spots or largemouth? I mean, what was the type of fish that you were into?
Yeah, I was definitely catching all three. The first day I caught that one largemouth to start off the day, and then I can't tell you how many spots I caught. I mean, probably 8 or 9 spots, maybe a little bit more than that, but they were just all shorts, all to that from that freaking 8 to like 12, maybe 13-inch range. I just didn't find any big spots. So most of my big fish were either smallmouth or largemouth. But yeah, I was surprised at how many spots are way up there.
You also got big bass in this event too. That was day one, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Was that, so were you back up in a creek, and was that a largemouth then too?
Yeah.
Talk about your big fish, because that won you some money too.
Yeah, most definitely. So I was running up the creek, and I was running up a kind of a flat there, and I was kind of fishing the bank. It's kind of some chunk rock and stuff coming out. I was fishing that, and I just kind of got this like feeling. I was like, I wasn't getting hit. And I was like, maybe these fish are kind of setting up to push those shad. Kind of seen a few shad, not a lot, at that point. And I was like, maybe these fish are kind of setting up to push these fish up. Just trying to figure it out. And literally, I think it was my second cast towards that flat, that big one just crushed it. And like when he hit it, like he was coming like at an angle at me, and it took everything I could do to get that caught back up to that fish to freaking set the hook. And when I set it, at that moment, it was just like, all right, we can do this. It kind of gave you that boost of energy, and just made me fish so much harder the rest of the day.
Right on. Let's talk a little bit about Table Rock itself. I mean, it seems to be, from my past experience, that the fish relate to those rocks, different types of rocks, especially along the shoreline. You got the pea gravel, you got the chunk rock, you got the boulders, you got the bluffs. There's a lot of different type of rock, and there's transitions of rocks. Did you notice that they were relating any to a certain type of rock over another? If someone's wanting to go fishing right now.
Yeah, right now, I mean, for me, literally probably 80 to 90% of the time that I fish Table Rock, I always find, most of my fish in that transition from where it'll go, about a 45-degree bank, kind of maybe like going down the bluff. It might move into a bluff where it goes from that to pea gravel. You know, maybe a 30, 40 yard stretch of chunk rock in there before it hits that pea gravel. But those are the transition points that I mostly look for on table rock. It just seems to be, you know, 80% of the time where I catch most of my fish, you know, in those transition spots.
Yeah, I agree too. What was the water temperature out there?
So I was looking at about anywhere from probably about 60 to 62 further back in those creeks.
Right on. Well, you know, Indian Point Marina did a great job of hosting this event again. And there's so many different marinas and things to do around the Branson area. What's your favorite thing to do around Table Rock that's not fishing related? Since you know you're from the area.
It's not fishing related.
That's right, not fishing related.
I don't know about that. I mean, there's a lot of shows in Branson, a lot of good shows in Branson. I'd say it probably one of my favorites. I don't think it's called this anymore. I'm not like Dixie Stampede is always a good one. To watch a good show. Food's great. It's probably one of my favorites. You know, around Table Rock, there's a lot of good, also like hiking and stuff, you know, hiking, camping. I mean, I know this is kind of fishing related, but there's also Roaring River where you can go camping that's not 30, 40 minutes from there that has trout, you know, really good trout in there. It's a lot of fun. So,
yeah, there are a lot of cool, like Dogwood Canyon's another really neat place. If you haven't been there, I would recommend going to that place.
Yeah, I always forget about that one. I think.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, Jared was telling me about that. He went on it. So.
Yeah, that's a great place just to go for a walk. I mean, it's really, really cool. So back to fishing, you know, on Table Rock. If someone was going to this lake for the first time and you know they're renting a boat and they want to go catch some bass, what advice would you give them? I mean, what would be their best technique to use, and where should they go? The golden question that everyone wants to know: how do you catch fish?
Yeah. As far as on Table Rock, I mean, it's hard to beat, you know, just the net on Table Rock. You know, getting on those pea gravel points and fishing the Ned. You know, there's a lot of guys that catch fish that way. You know, I have a lot of trouble doing that. I usually, you know, like a wiggle wart on Table Rock a lot. You know, I'll throw like a chatterbait a lot on Table Rock, and then I love just rigging up just a plain Texas rig, rage crawl, and just, you know, go to flipping, you know, up, down a lot of those transition spots, you know, where those fish are setting up. You know, I'll do that a lot. This year, you know, that was huge with, you know, with it being flooded and so on. You know, those bigger large now they're really pushing back up into that flooded timber, you know, where those spots were hanging out, you know, on the edge of it. So, you know, you had to get back in there to find those bigger largemouth. As far as, you know, areas, man, all of Table Rock has.
That's what I was about to say. I think you can go anywhere and catch fish. It just depends on what the weather's like and what you want to do, you know.
Everybody I tell to go down there, I mean, I was telling them, like, if you can figure out the smallmouth down by the dam, you can get a tournament won down there. You know, you can put up 95 inches down there by the dam on smallmouth, you know. So.
What kayak were you fishing out of?
I fish out of a PA-14. I think I've been fishing out for about 2-3 years now, and I love it. I have a lot of, you know, I hit a lot of rocks and stumps with the drive, so that, you know.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, but it's still a pretty nice fishing platform.
Yeah, I love the open platform. So
you also, you know, on top of all this, you know, winning the state championship, the Missouri State Championship, you also won the first ever Missouri Bass.Nation Bassmaster Kayak State Championship. So that was a big deal too. I mean, being part of that first group of guys is going to go, you know, represent, you know, not just kayak fishing, but also Missouri, you know, at the Bassmaster Classic in Texas is awesome. How do you feel about what Bassmaster's done as far as stepping into the kayak world?
I think Bassmaster has really brought a lot of light to the kayak world. You know, it's just that big name out there. You know, when you go around talking to people, you know, people that don't really know much about kayak fishing right now, they're starting to, you know, hear about it. And then, you know, a lot of those guys that maybe didn't respect, you know, a lot of the boat guys or just, you know, other people just quite didn't respect or just not so much respect, but understand, you know, what the kayak fishing world was, you see a lot more respect from them. So I think they brought a lot of light in that aspect. As far as well-run series all around the board, never an issue. If there was an issue, they're taking care of it right then and there. So some great people running it.
You fished in the opens as well as the Missouri State Championship as well. So you've been on both ends of it, right?
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, I fished Lake Fork early in the year. And then I went to La Crosse, Mississippi, which is probably one of my favorite fisheries. I mean, there's not a lot of big fish there, but oh my gosh,
they're tanks though.
Yeah, they're tanks. I mean, you get 16-inch freaking smallmouth, are pushing 4 pounds.
I know it's a blast.
It's fun. It's fun up there. But I ended up qualifying up there for the Bassmaster part of it, and yeah, I can't wait. I mean, we got a good team going from Missouri. A lot of fun guys, so I'm excited just for the experience. I would, love to be in the top 10, get to walk across that stage. That'd be a dream come true. But I think it's just going to be all the way around.
I'm looking forward to it too, man. And I'm pretty proud Missouri does have 9 guys going. Yeah, 9 guys total going. So I don't know what the other states are sending, but I think that's pretty good. So, and everyone's a good angler too. So
got a good representation from Missouri, so it's going to be exciting. A lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it too. Besides that, I mean, what are you looking forward to for 2021 now that we're pretty much done? I mean, we still got the All-American coming up, but after that, it's pretty much a wrap. And then, so what are your plans for 2021?
I think, for 2021, I have to look at the schedules and everything. KBF kind of came out with theirs this year. I don't think I'm going to do a lot of traveling as far as that. It seems like it's all mostly.
Oh man, it was all on the East Coast. Like it was, I might go fish the Texas event. I don't know about you, but other than that, that schedule does not look appealing to me at all.
That's what, I was kind of thinking the same thing, no like big names. I might go fish. I think they have one there this year up there, and, Texas too, but I think I'm going to focus again on the Hobie events and then the Bassmaster events. Try to focus on those and then fish, the local events that I can make it to. I'm one of those guys that I fish a lot of local events, but I kind of cherry pick, which ones I go to fit around the national schedule. So, but
yeah, I forgot about Hobie. How did you end up doing that year? I didn't really follow it too closely this year. How'd you do there?
Yeah. So in the Hobie, I ended up qualifying for the TOC in Knoxville. So
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. I think I was sitting after everything said and done. I think I was sitting 19th in points. So
that's something to be proud of, dude, because right now that's the most, well, maybe the KBF 10, but other than that, the TOC is the most elite tournament there is. And to qualify for that is insanely hard too. So, man, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it means a lot to me to qualify, because that was pretty much my main goal this year, was to qualify for that. And I put a lot of work into it, a lot of time, a lot of driving, a lot of money into it. And it means a lot to me to make that one this year. So that's, it's the weekend after the All-American, and I'm kind of in a pinch point. Do I go start pre-fishing, or do I go ahead and fish the All-American and then head up? So it's kind of a tough one.
Well, that's not going to be a conflict anymore, because after this year, we're going to move the All-American to the late spring instead of having it in the fall. So we've got so many championships in the fall. We're going to get out of there and let KBF and the TOC have it, and we're going to move up to the spring with Bassmaster. So I wasn't supposed to say anything about that. I actually just slipped, but I guess if people are paying attention, you just got a new secret. But anyway, yeah, and it's in the deer season too, so the weather is really getting a little questionable this time of year. So I just think it was the right thing to do for moving forward. But
I appreciate that a ton. With the TOC and then All-American all at once in November, it's a rut.
Yeah,
out there in the woods.
It seems like everything just got stacked up this year. It got crazy, so we're gonna unstack everything next year.
Yeah.
Right on.
Kind of affected that.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add? I mean, I appreciate you joining us and spilling the beans about everything. You got some sponsors you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to appreciate just give a shout out to you for running, the MoYak and, all the things that you do. Want to give a shout out to all the guys in MoYak, always first time I ever fished a tournament there, everyone made me feel so, appreciated and welcomed, and reached out to you. So it's a great group of guys. So, I appreciate all of them. I want to give a big shout out to Everhart's Outdoors. They supported me all year, great people. I love those guys up there because the customer service is second to none up there. And, with a sponsor, sending people to, sometimes it's like, man, I hope they treat them right, treat them the way they should. And there's no question with that with Everhart's, great people up there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank my family, so on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Everhart's has been an amazing, myself personally for MoYak, I know they take care of their guys, and they're a great company and run by great people. So I agree. Big shout out to Everhart's and thank them, for the kayak giveaway we had too. So
yeah, they go.
I think they're going to go nuts at the All-American. I think they haven't seen nothing yet.
That's going to be definitely exciting.
All right. Well, man, thanks for coming on, man. We're going to bring Troy on now. We're going to talk to Troy and get his perspective on what just went down this weekend. So awesome. Thanks, Brandon, and good luck at the TOC, brother.
Thank you. You have a good one.
You too.
All right. You guys good?
Yeah, man. Thanks for, joining us, Troy. We're just kind of having a conversation about Table Rock, what just went down. The overall season of MoYak. I mean, what are your thoughts about what just happened on Table Rock?
It was 2 days. It was a 2-day struggle for a lot of guys and gals. And I'm telling you, Table Rock is a fickle fishery. I think it fishes better when it's nasty. Once you get past like October, November. If it's sleeting or you got an east wind or it's super cold, those bass will be chewing on Table Rock. Get down there because they're going to be biting. This weekend I expected a lot more, even though I did get out to go and pre-fish one evening. I had to try the area that I won in last year, and it was the Dead Sea. And then I looked at the forecast and I thought, there's no way I can come here. So luckily, Brian Hillman did some pre-fishing for a couple days and eliminated a lot of water for us. And we were able to pick a spot and capitalize as best we could. And I was able to scrap up a limit both days. So hats off to Brian for letting me come with him. It was almost like Gunnersville all over again. I had somebody there helping me. I told him to hurry up and get up to Truman and find us some fish up there.
Right. Yeah, follow Jim for that one.
Yeah, he's gonna have some people tagging his truck and
yeah, all of MoYak is going to be following and seeing where Jim's going to be at up at Truman.
Well, the advantage we have is we know what his truck and his kayak looks like. All these guys.
Kayak.
Yeah, but all these guys that are coming from around, they may look at his truck and be like, "That guy ain't fishing." His kayak, but I mean that's the coolest thing about this event is, and he smoked him at Truman. Like we all know that, and that's one of my favorite parts is it could be a sit-in, a sit-on, pedal, motor. Everybody's got a shot.
Yep.
Well, man, let's talk about Table Rock. What was it for you? What was did you figure out a pattern? Did you kind of just work into some things, or what was it for you?
I liked throwing topwater in the fall, especially on Table Rock, and topwater did the damage for me both days. I did catch a couple keepers on a spinnerbait, but most of the spinnerbait fish I caught were small. I was using a War Eagle willow leaf 1/2 ounce with a little paddle tail trailer, and it was getting a lot of attention in certain areas, but it was mostly 10 to 12 inch fish. And day one, I caught fish early, quickly, not as quickly as Justin Kuhn. My goodness, that guy had like 80 inches by 7:30. He had them pinned up. That was impressive. but I did manage to catch a couple early on top water, and then when that wind picked up, I switched over to a spinnerbait and started working it down the bank. And it seemed like whether it was top water or spinnerbait or any kind of, almost every bite I got that was quality, I had to have timber. I had to have wood, and not pole timber like laydowns and stuff. So I had all my quality fish came out of laydowns, and it was strange. And you know, I like to fish transition banks. I like to fish channel swings, and I could not get bit in those areas. It had to be like a flat next to deep water, and it had to have horizontal timber around it. And it seemed like they were hugging close to that stuff for some reason. I don't know if they were ambushing bait or if these are resident fish and that's just where they hang out or what. But that's what did it for me both days.
Well, after talking to Brandon, he was kind of on a completely different pattern. He was on the rocks. He was pulling them off those rock banks.
Yeah.
He was pulling off timber, but he did go up a creek too. I think that might be something that was similar as well.
Yeah, I tried to get somewhere that, you know, you look at the forecast and you try to find out what the wind direction is going to be, and then you look at the map and you try to find some place that's going to have some wind block. And luckily we had some places like that. Now, not every, we had to make some moves, and it was pretty treacherous at times. About 11 o'clock in the morning, that wind was howling like 30 or 40. It was crazy.
Yeah, I felt sorry for you guys out there, but that's a pretty smart thing to do. I mean, if you're trying to get out of the wind, go up a little creek. You know, if you get up in tiny and skinny water, then the wind's not really that much of a factor if you can't get out of it. I mean, that's what I would have done. That's pretty smart.
Yeah, I was, you know, I've got a power pole, but it failed me on day one. So I would catch a fish, and I would be in a foot of water, and I'd have to land the fish while I'm being thrown towards a, and I'd have to have my feet on my pedals and flatten them up against the bottom of the Hobie, and it was just comical. I wish somebody had it on video. But
Yeah, man.
Day two, I went back to the same spot that I caught. I caught like a 19 something, and I hooked up with that fish again, and it got off. I think it was the same fish, but that would have either tied me or given me the lead in the tournament. But hats off to Mr. Prince for pulling it out in the last minutes of the tournament. That was such a clutch performance, and he's a worthy state champion. So hats off to you, Mr. Prince.
Troy, you know, talking about the wind and the conditions at Table Rock, did you find that the wind either hindered or helped your bite at all?
The bite turned on for me when the wind was blowing, for sure. Now I changed my tactics when there was wind. I changed to different styles of baits. When it was slick calm, I would use a topwater popper. When it was you know, blowing enough to get some refraction on top of the water, I'd throw the plopper. And so, I mean, no secrets. I mean, it's either a buzzbait or a plopper or a popper. So I wasn't doing any frog fishing this time around. But yeah, they seemed to want something that stayed in place when it was slick calm, and you know, walk the dog style popper was what did it for me in those conditions. But yeah, when the wind's blowing, I'm going to try a spinnerbait. I'm going to try when it's blowing hard, like it was white capping where we were in some spots. I like a jerk bait, and I like a spinnerbait in those conditions almost any time of the year.
Yeah, that kind of something similar to what I asked Brandon about earlier. When you're fishing Table Rock, say you're talking to someone who's going there for the first time, they're renting a boat and they want to go out there and they want to go fishing and catch bass. What would you give them as a general advice as to, hey, go do this and you might have some success on Table Rock? I know that's a crazy question. How do you catch fish? But I mean, what would you say?
Whenever I take anybody that's never fished there before, the first thing I tie on for them is about a 3.8 Kitech with about depending on the wind, 1/8 or 1/4 ounce head, and we just run banks, and it's something they can chunk and wind, and if you get a good weedless head, they'll stay out of the trees, but usually they'll hook up. And A little paddle tail swim bait is generally gonna get you some bites, and once in a while you'll catch a good one. I took my brother-in-law in the springtime, and he caught his personal best in the Ants Creek area on a Kitech in the springtime. It was like mid-May, and it was like a 6-pounder, and so, and he's in the back of the boat, and it's just, you know, if it would have been one of us, it would have gotten off in a heartbeat. But it's tail walking and jumping, getting in the trolling motor, and it's behind the boat, and he's got you know, he's sitting in his chair, he's not even playing it right. I'm just like, but he got it in. We got a picture of it, and it was like 6.2 or 6 point, I don't remember, but it was a beast. Good tail rock fish.
Nice.
The old swim bait. I know last year we fished, you know, our event, our regular season, and then we had there's another event a couple weeks after that, and that event I caught them really good on the swim bait. But yeah, definitely a swim bait is a good starter. You know, it's something easy for someone to throw. They don't have to think about it a lot. You know, if they slow it down, if they speed it up, it's a solid place to start. So I mean, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and you'll catch quality, you'll catch numbers. You know, look at you know, secondarily, it's a little harder to fish for a new person, but if you got good electronics, a drop shot will work for them. Look at the Major League Fishing guys, how they, you know, conquered Table Rock 2 weeks last year in midsummer, and it was the numbers game, hundreds of fish a day.
Yeah, speaking of the numbers too, what anglers caught all 3 species in this tournament, and it seemed like different patterns would produce different species. What were you on? Were you on the smallmouth? Were you on the spots, largemouth, all 3?
No, almost. I think all but one of my fish that hit the board were largemouth. I had one spot that was, I think it was around 14 or 15 inches, but they were all largemouth.
Man, I am very excited to see what you guys do at the Bass.Nation. Troy, what does that feel like for you to be able to go to the Classic? I know, me being younger, my dad watched the Classic. He loved Kevin Van Dam. He'd watch these events. But what is it full circle for you, and being in a kayak going to this event?
Well, I think full circus is a good because that's what's going to be happening in my brain. Turn off all that hype and stuff, you know. Like your dad, I was, you know, I've been a bass head since I was about 6 years old, and the Bassmaster Classic was the deal. All my you know, my dad, my uncles, everybody talked about it, and all the people that I cared about that were fishing, you know, fish heads. The Bassmaster Classic was the Super Bowl, and it was, in my family, it was more important than the Super Bowl. We don't care about no stinking football. You know, fishing is where it's at. And so in the summertime, I'd travel in the summer for summer vacation, and we would schedule our vacation. We would always drive, and we would, you know, go down to Florida or down to the Gulf, and we would always plan on the way back or on the way there. We'd find out where the Classic was, and we'd go visit that city on our journey, and we'd stay there for a few nights, and we'd go to the expo, and we'd go sit in the crowd and watch them drive through. And that was just part of my growing up. And, you know, my aunt and uncle took me, you know, several times to the Classic, and I can't thank them enough for the impressions that I got. And, you know, you're in a stadium, and these guys are pulling in with their bass boats, and the crowd's going crazy, and you're like, wow, this is fishing, really? Wow, this is real. Everybody loves this. And so, yeah, the Classic's going to be fun. Being in the kayak division, I have no idea what to expect. I wish they would announce which lake we're going to be on, because it's going to be non-study until then.
I know. I don't. I keep hearing it'll be in a couple weeks. It'll be in a couple weeks, and I'm like, just tell us already. Come on. Jeez.
Yeah, everybody's going to wear YouTube out trying to find videos of whatever lake they announce. So, and Google Earth's going to have a lot of heat on it in that area. So,
yeah, for sure.
I don't do, you know, historically in the springtime out of state of Missouri, almost in the state of Missouri, I don't do really well. So I don't look for inky to be at the top of the leaderboard like I was at Gunnersville for a few minutes. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen. But just to be there, just to have qualified is really special. And thank you to MoYak and Missouri Bass.Nation for making that all happen. Because without Josh's leadership and his involvement in the community, we might have been on the sidelines this year. But he got on it early and made it happen. So thank you, Josh.
Yeah, and if it's like Lake Fork last year, we got there it was late March in Lake Fork, and the spawn was in full force. So
yeah,
we could be down there in Texas right during the middle of the spawn for the Classic. That could be pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure I won't sleep the first 2 weeks of March. That's a problem.
So what's your overall impression of the Bassmaster series as far as, the opens, the state levels, it's all new to kayak fishing. So, I mean, how do you think it's been this year?
Yeah, I was able to fish. These guys have been doing this for 50 years. They've got it down. And even though the kayak part of it is new, they'll have everything figured out. It'll be a smoothly ran tournament, and it'll be very impressive. That's what I feel is gonna happen. So I've fished one Bassmaster Open. I fished several FLW, BFL, and Costa series, and Bassmaster by far was the better run of the two, in my opinion. So I look forward to the same thing happening for the kayak division.
Guys, well, I know me being a MoYak member, we are proud of you guys going off and representing us at a national, a worldwide event, and we can't wait to see how you guys do as well. So don't forget that we'll be back here in Missouri just rooting you guys on.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to need all the support we can get.
Josh, man, what else you got for Troy, man? I think I've asked him enough. We've talked to, man, we've seen you. I told Josh before I got on here, we should call you Mr. October, because it seems like every October, man, you're on it.
Yeah,
maybe Mr. Table Rock in October.
Yeah, we're gonna miss Table Rock next year if we don't come back in October for something. Yeah,
we're going to.
I need to get that springtime game figured out. It's just like my golf game. One day the putter's on, one day the driver's going, and most days nothing's working. So to have a couple wins or a couple paychecks in October, it was a blessing. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
I can tell you next year we'll be on Table Rock in late October, and we'll be on Table Rock in late April.
Very good. Looking forward to that.
Little leak there.
A little leak of information.
See if anybody's actually watching still.
Yeah.
Well, Troy, I guess we'll see you at the All-American next event.
Yep. I'll be down there Thursday evening, and need to go by Everhart's and stock up on some tackle and ask those guys, what's going on. Maybe get some intel. It'll probably be the wrong intel, but they're probably protecting their guys. But now they've got some new spinnerbaits. They got some local spinnerbaits in, and I'm going to go pick some of those up. I think a spinnerbait might be a player, and I think they're called Trophy Bass Company. Check them out. One of our local legends on the local scene was a spinnerbait king, and he's partnered up with, I think it's Trophy Bass Company. They make a fine spinnerbait, and it works really well in these highland reservoirs. So check that out. And Everhart's, Jared just said that they just got a shipment in, and I can't find them anywhere else. So I'm not even on their website. So
there you go. There's another hot tip.
Yeah, check that out.
Well, Troy, thanks for being on here again, man. Good luck at the All-American, and can't wait to see how you do at the the Classic, man. It's going to be cool to watch.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Good talking to you guys again. Thanks.
Yep. Congratulations on this weekend, and we'll see you at Truman.
All right. Sounds good, guys.